Welcome to Dark Knight Films Reviews and another special ranking night. Tonight, I will be ranking all of the Jason actors from the Friday the 13th films. Alright, so let's begin this list with number 10, which is Ary Lemman from Friday the 13th, 1980. Now, this Jason is only in these little moments when Pamela is talking about her son, and we see these quick little flashbacks, and then we don't see him again until, boom, he jumps out of the water and attacks Alice and pulls her under. And yes, that's a iconic moment in cinema and one of the best horror endings of all time. But Ary Lemman's Jason doesn't do much in these films to be able to rank any higher on this one for me. Alright, so let's move on to number 9. And my number 9 is Warwick Gillette. Friday the 13th, Part 2, 1981. Now, he could be under even Ary Lemman in a way, because all he does is come crashing through the window and attack Jenny. That's it. That's all he does. He is not Jason through the rest of Part 2. Another person is that will be seen a little later on this list. So, yeah, you're not going to rank very high if you do this, even though Warwick Gillette likes to go to conventions and try to say that he did a lot more on the set and everything, but everybody else around the set says that there was one Jason, and then Warwick Gillette came in to be the unmasked version. It's similar to the Michael Myers thing with Tony Moran. Alright, so let's move on to number 8. And my number 8 is Tom Morga, who played Jason in Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning from 1985. Now, this one, Tom Morga actually played Jason in these dream sequence moments and the visions that Tommy is having. And he also played the character of Roy when he's masked, basically playing the killer version of the character. Whereas Dick Weand played Roy when he was just in paramedics mode. And that final reveal at the end when he's unmasked. So, yeah, I'm not putting Roy on this. This is a Jason list, not a Roy, not a Jason impersonator list. So, yeah, Tom Morga done a little bit more in his, through these dream sequences and little, visions, but still not enough to actually rank any higher on this list, unfortunately. Alright, so coming in at number 7, we have Ken Kirzinger from Freddy vs. Jason from 2003. Ken Kirzinger reminds me of Frankenstein in this role. Now, I like Ken Kirzinger. I liked him in Wrong Turn 3. I loved his take on that character. And Jason, though, his portrayal of this character, and I know that's probably the director's decision, that was Ronnie Yu, wanting him to be his Frankenstein monster kind of a creation in here, and it doesn't work. I mean, basically, all Ken Kirzinger is Frankenstein with a hockey mask on. And that's not that appealing to me. I don't really give a shit about that. Now, he does have A couple of good kills in this, but other than that, yeah, not one of the best Jasons. All right, so coming in at number 6, we have Steve Dash, a.k.a. Steve Dashowitz. Now, he was the real Jason in Friday the 13th, Part 2, 1981. And he's good in this character, this more human version of the character. Takes an ass kicking, but he keeps coming, so you got to give him credit for that. Not one of the tougher of the Jasons on this list, and that's why he's a little lower on this thing. Not very imposing as a character, but one of the originals, so has to make a little higher on this list than some of these others. All right, so coming in at number 5, we have Richard Brooker from Friday the 13th, Part 3 from 1982. Now, Richard Brooker is a much more imposing looking Jason than what Steve Dash's Jason was. And for looks wise, yes, that works really well. But he's still, much like Steve Dash, he does get his ass kicked quite a bit near the end by Chris, unfortunately. So he's not made to look very tough, even though he looks intimidating as hell. One of the most intimidating looking Jasons. All right, so let's move on to number 4. And my number 4 is, and I know this is going to bug a lot of people, but my number 4 is Kane Hodder from Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes a Boat Ride. Whoops. Jason Takes Manhattan. Jason Goes to Hell. And Jason X. And there's good performances here by Kane. Part 7, he was pretty great for the most part. He does get his ass kicked by Tina near the end. He was in that travesty that I hate called Jason Takes Manhattan. He was in Jason Goes to Hell. Not much, but he was in there. He bookended it from the beginning and end, and every once in a while you'd see a reflection and you could see him, but yeah. And Jason X was a so-so in there. So even though Kane is considered a lot of people's favorites, not mine. So coming in at number 3, we have Derek Mears from Friday the 13th, 2009. Now, this guy is intimidating as hell just because of his size. And he looks really badass as Jason. And he is a pretty scary Jason just because he is fast. He is smart. He is totally the opposite of any of the other Jasons on this list, except for maybe the ones that are above him on this one. So, kudos to you, Derek, for making this high on my list. All right, so coming in at number 2, we have C.J. Graham from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, 1986. Now, C.J. Graham's Jason is pretty damn badass. He is the first undead Jason, basically, not counting those little visions with Tom Morga playing the character. That wasn't real. That was visions and that was dreams and everything. So he's not really alive in that. Brought back to life like he is in this. And even though he is brought back similar to the way Frankenstein is created and everything, unlike Ken Kurtzinger playing him like Frankenstein, C.J. Graham doesn't play him like Frankenstein. He puts a lot of personality into the character. And you could say the same thing about Kane Hodder too. But I just don't think Kane Hodder is as good as Jason as C.J. Graham is. I think he was great as Jason, and it's a shame that they didn't bring him back for the future movies after the excellent job that he did in Part 6. All right, so coming in at number 1, if you've been paying attention here, you know who this has to be. And it is Ted White from Friday the 13th, the final chapter from 1984. Now, this is my favorite of the Friday the 13th films, and he is my favorite Jason just because of how he is the most badass of the living Jasons. He is absolutely dominant, absolutely badass, even though he does take some punishment near the end of the film by Trish and Tommy. He is so badass at taking that punishment. It's not like Richard Brooker and Steve Dash, how they're shouting and screaming and ooh and ah and at everything that's happening to them. Ted White just takes it, gets right back up, and comes back at them like a beast from hell. He is awesome in the role, and his kills are some of the best in the Friday the 13th history. So that is why he makes my number 1. But what do you guys think of this list? Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? Let me know in those comments down below. And I know there's a lot of you that will probably have Kane Hodder or C.J. Graham as your number 1. And I respect that. You know, we respect each other's opinions on this thing. So, like to see what you guys have your rankings on these. All right. So if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to click that bell icon so you can be notified about future videos just like this one. And while you're by the subscribe button, click that join button and become a Dark Knight fan. As a Dark Knight Fan Plus member, you have access to an area on the channel right now where you can request a movie, TV series, or ranking video of your choosing. And when that video goes up, it will go up for all Plus members prior to all other subscribers getting to see it. So if you want to get interactive and help us to get more reviews on here that I might not normally do, become a Plus member. And if you missed last week's ranking video, check out the link above. And if you missed any of our other ranking videos, check out this playlist and get caught up.